So if you've watched any of my recent videos, you might have seen that I bought a new Schecter AM6, which is the Aaron Marshall signature guitar. And so someone had suggested, hey, why don't you try taking a crack at building a preset for that kind of Aaron Marshall intervals kind of sound. And so this is my attempt to do that. And if you're familiar with Aaron Marshall, you may be aware that he used Fractal for a long time, but recently he was touring using a Cortex. He even has a Cortex Cloud account where he shared some presets. And I've seen a bunch of interviews where he's talked about, both with his Fractal and with the Cortex, kind of how he sets up his preset. There was a great interview he did with Rick Beato where he went through a lot of stuff. And one thing I noticed was the presets that were shared through Cortex Cloud weren't necessarily exactly like the presets he talked about when he was being interviewed. So what I tried to do here was kind of create an amalgamation of what I've seen him describe of his Fractal setup, what I've seen him describe as Cortex, and the presets he shared in his Cortex Cloud account, and try to create them all into one preset here. And so what we have is we have a preset with 8 scenes. We've got a clean with a shimmer, so that's kind of a very ambient, synthy kind of reverb. We've got the clean with a tube screamer in front of it for kind of a low gain lead tone. We've got a rhythm sound and then a rhythm with a flange, and then we've got 3 lead tones, kind of the core lead, a lead with an octave on it, and a lead with a chorus on it. So let's start by going through our clean tone. So what we have here is for all the clean tones, we're using this Roland Jazz, and we're running it into a 4x12. Up front, you've got a solid state compressor going into a vintage chorus. And you'll notice this on all the effects, really, in terms of the choruses and the flangers and whatnot, is the mix is pretty high. My sense is, from what I've seen and heard, when he uses a chorus or a flanger, it's not set to be subtle. He's got it turned up so you can hear it. And then in terms of ambience, I've got a tape delay on the back end. Mixes at 40%, delay times at 400 milliseconds, and we have it on ping pong. So the delay is going back and forth, left and right. And then we've got a modulated reverb with a mix at 35% these tones. So let's hear what this one sounds like. So you can hear it's a nice kind of pure clean tone with a lot of effect on it. You got the nice chorus up front with some compression. You've got a good amount of delay and reverb on the back end. So it's a very kind of ambient, atmospheric kind of sound. So when we add the shimmer to that, so what we're doing is it's the same clean tone. You can see it's continuing to go out to the multi-out, but then we're splitting it apart and we're running a pure kind of wet path also to the out. And in the wet path, we've got a simple delay, and the mix is set to 100% with a very short delay time of 100 milliseconds. So I'm just shifting kind of the time basis of the sound a little bit before I pump it into the shimmer reverb. Again, mixes at 100%. And if we look at the splitter, and to see the details of the splitter, you need to turn off gig view. You'll see that the level to B, which is that wet path, I'm dropping the volume by 6.2 decibels. So this is how I'm balancing the level of shimmer that I want in the preset. So if you download this and you want more shimmer or less shimmer, this is where you go to do it. So let's hear what this sounds like. I think that's a really cool effect. It's very, like I said, almost like a synthesizer. And then for this, what I've done is the shimmer's off, as is the chorus, and we turned on a tube screamer. I'm just reusing this setting of the tube screamer that I'm using on the rhythm tone for the crunch. A little bit of drive. We're pushing the level, but that doesn't really matter in terms of the Roland. You know, the Roland's not going to be pushed into any kind of distortion by pushing the level of the pedal. But let's hear what that sounds like. So get a nice kind of warm, clean, with a little bit of edge in the front. I was pretty happy with how the Roland Jazz took the tube screamer overdrive pedal. I was worried that it wasn't going to work, but it's a nice touch sensitivity to it. So it works well. All right, for the rhythm tones and the lead tones, we're using the Friedman 100 rhythm. And you'll notice here, I've got the gain and the bass and the mid and the treble and the fat all set up to be scene specific. And we're running those also into a 4x12 with V30s. So in front of that, we've got our tube screamer to kind of give that mid push. And you'll notice that the bass is dialed back. In fact, we could probably even pull that back a little bit more. Mids are about even, and then we're pushing the treble a little bit. And for the rhythm, I've got the fat switch off and the gain at about 6.5. And in terms of ambience, I've got a hall reverb, mixes at 35%, but the decay is only at 2 seconds. So a short decay to try to keep it from being too overwhelming. Let's check this out. And then if we add the flanger to that, this is a MX flanger. Again, mix 100%. You're going to turn on the flanger, let them hear it. So that's what this sounds like. So that works good if you're going for that kind of lo-fi flanger kind of thing. And then in terms of lead tone, one thing, we're pushing the overdrive on the tube screamer a little bit. We're pushing more gain on the amp, a little bit more bass, a good chunk more mids, and we're turning the fat switch on. And then we're going through, we've got our tape delay here that we've had on before for the clean tone. And then we're going through our modulated reverb, but I've got the mix down to 15%. So most of the ambience for lead tone is going to be from the delay, not the reverb. And it sounds like this. You can hear a lot of those delay trails at the end there to give it kind of that fullness. And then we've got that same lead tone, and we're turning on the octaver. And, you know, dry is at 100%, and then the 2 octave settings are a little more than halfway. We did pull back the drive on the tube screamer a little bit and on the gain and drop the bass a little bit here. So again, we're trying to pull back some of the gain and some of the low end because that octaver is adding in a lot more kind of frequency to it. So it sounds like this. big full sound. And then lastly, we have our same lead tone from here, but we're adding in a dual chorus. Again, it's a pretty substantial chorus. And it mixes at 65. You've got the width all the way, the depth about halfway, and it sounds like this. So again, nice big chorus effect, and that lead tone works really well. So that is our Aaron Marshall preset. As always, I'll make this preset available on my Cortex Cloud account. Feel free to grab it, play around with it. Let me know what you think in the comments. And thanks for watching.